the time. There we go, recording in progress. Hello, everybody. I know it's a sunny evening in England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland and Ireland. So I'm sure we have a bit of competition, Sarah, live for the weather, you know. It's not often we get it, right?
Yeah, it's actually boiling here, I know that much.
Yes,
Lots of fans.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But we've a lot of people who watch our YouTube channel and catch it live in the group and all that. So thank you so much, Sarah, for being with us today.
Oh,
and Sarah, I was, you know, we know each other for many years, right? But I was reading on your website that you're in business for over 20 years. So I have two things to say about that, right? The first thing is congratulations. Very few businesses are in business for more than 20 years. And second of all, you don't look anywhere old enough to have a business for 20 years. So you must have started when you were 10 or something, did you?
No, I started when my fourth child was 2. That's when it started up. So,
right. And how did that come about, Sarah? Like, did you always love photography, or how did you get into photography?
No, didn't really know anything about photography. My husband is a videographer, and he'd do weddings and bits and pieces like that. So when my fourth child was 2, Libby, since she's what now, 27.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, coming up for 27, the youngest one. So she, as I say, she was at playgroup, and I decided I was going to do something. I always done something in the evenings, like college or something, just to keep my mind activated. And my husband said to me, "Why don't you try photography?" I said, "I don't like photography. I don't want to do that. That's not." And he said, "Well, I've got the cameras, might as well try." So I said, "Oh, okay." And then there was a get to know your camera course in the local, so I thought I'll go along there. Popped along and got bitten by the bug, as you do. Of course, it was filmed then, which was lovely. Dark rooms, lovely smells and bits and pieces like that. And they suggested after a couple of weeks that I do an A-level. And I said, no, I'm not academic, not doing an A-level. So I did the City and Guilds, which was lovely because you could do it at home and at your own pace. And my hubby built me a dark room. And then I went from there, really, just, and then I got into weddings with a couple of guys that he'd done some videos for. They were society wedding photographers. So they took me along, different style of photography than I've now learned, and I had started off there. But after spending a couple of years with them, I just went out on my own and done weddings. So, and that's where Sarah Tate photography was born.
Wow.
So I couldn't possibly think of doing anything else, really.
So Sarah, you know, you said that you didn't think you wanted to be a photographer, you know, and Tony encouraged you to pick up the camera on the course. So what was it that you know, that you caught the bug? Like, what was it about photography that you just fell in love with?
Being able to capture something for someone and then they absolutely love it, and you just get that really nice feeling from it. Now it's the portrait side. Because I did do weddings sort of for about 8 years and then changed to portraiture. And it is the portraiture that I really, really love. I love people. I love talking to people. I like finding out about them and then being able to give them something in like something that's captured that moment for them and the expression on their face that they just love. And I love that. So that's what I like doing. I like being creative as well. So I like a little project on the go because I do get bored easily. I'm one of those people that need to have something going all the time. Otherwise, I just go, oh, bored now type of thing. So yeah, and it gives me everything really.
So let's just talk about projects because I think that's a fascinating subject, and I love talking to photographers about that. So are your projects designed for your creative? Indulgence is the wrong word, right? But for you to be as creative as you can be, or is it about developing a new client or brand, or is it about giving back, or is it all of those things?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything, really. My fellowship and associateship came out of projects. Didn't start off saying I'm going to have an associateship. I decided I was going to do a project. To develop something different, to test my lighting, because I've really been self-taught doing the lighting and bits and pieces. I know I'd done the City and Guilds, but didn't really go into depths that you needed to do. And obviously back then, years ago, in the old days, there wasn't all this business on YouTube and bits and pieces. You had to go to photographers and learn about it then. So it wasn't as easy then. So doing the projects sort of let me sort of experiment on people and get paid for it as well. So that was a good thing, really. So and then once I decided what I was going to do, it would develop, and then I would twist it, and then I'd use it in the studio. Some haven't used it in the studio. Some have sort of went, well, it's nice to do that, but it's not something people want hanging on their walls, if that makes sense. It's a bit trial and error.
So Sarah, you talked there a very important couple of words. You know, it's good to make money on it too, on the project. Yeah. So when you're designing a project, right, is that part of the process, that it's about giving back, like you mentioned, it's about developing, you know, a new style or discovering a new way to light or whatever for yourself, and also to make some money from it? Are they, you know, do you go through an actual process when you're designing your projects, or how do you go about that?
Yeah, so each project I would get advertised now on Facebook and get people in that I want. Now, I'd offer them a free sitting. I would then say, well, you have a mini shoot. So for my maternity one, I've done a mini maternity shoot for them, because that's what I want to sell to them, on the proviso that I could do what I wanted to do with them, within reason, after the session. So because it was just a mini one, they weren't going to get too tired. And then when they came back to the studio to look at their images, they wouldn't be able to buy the images that I was going to use for my projects, but they could purchase their mini shoot. And then I would give them a little bit of a big discount, to be perfectly honest, for doing it. But I'd also make sure I made money out of it as well. So otherwise, you know, you can't just, that's why I've been here 21 years, I suppose. You've got to make the money, haven't you, at the end of the day? But I'm also giving it back to them as well. So I did have a couple of customers that did come along for the project and couldn't afford to buy the images. So I just gave them to them, you know, so it's completely heartless.
Wow. And I could tell from your website that, you know, there's a lot of different clients with different needs who come to you, right? So you're doing makeover and maternity and newborn and watch me grow. And what's the strategy behind that? Is that something that's evolved over time, as you know, you started as one thing and then you developed and added other things, or have you grown up with your clients and as they grow, then you've adopted your offerings for them? Or how has that all come about?
Well, when it first started, it was just a case of, well, I wanted to have a venture studio, but I couldn't afford to buy one. So I just wanted that white studio to get people in and I wanted families. I wanted families, pets. And then obviously the maternity and newborn came a lot later. So obviously I would have newborn babies in, but I'd be doing it under the white, you know, background and things like that. It wasn't until I started developing the projects that I started using the black backgrounds and the nudie. And then having the pregnancy in, obviously you get the newborns in automatically. And then if you market it right, you get your little sitters in that Watch Me Grow. And then we'd sell the Watch Me Grow package in the end. So it was moving along bits and pieces like that. So that's where that developed. And then I got, one of my projects was a fine art one. So that was many, many years ago, and that was sort of very popular. I done a fine art project, but we linked it with competition and then gave money to the local charity. So we've done it that way around. So I could still, again, they'd pay the charity, but I would sell them back the images after the ones, because they were fine art type ones. So that's where the fine art aspect came in. So we put that on the website. And then, of course, we've done a pet one. So the pets one on there. And then the makeovers we've been doing for a few years. It's mainly Mummy and Me and things like that. I stopped doing boudoir years ago because I didn't quite feel comfortable with it. But I'm telling you, that is now my passion. I'm really interested in the boudoir, and that's where we're building to go forwards with it. So that's why that's now been introduced on the website.
All right. So you've multiple studios, right?
Yeah, all under one building.
All in one building. So you have your newborn and you've some family members working with you now.
So I have 2 family members, both my eldest daughter and my youngest daughter. So that little one that was 2, she's now working for me. Now she's 27. And my eldest daughter, and they're trained to do the newborns. So last year, end of last year, we built the newborn studio for them, which doubles up as a makeover area because we set our makeover days to 1 or 2 days, which is either Thursday or Friday. So our makeovers are done in that studio, the makeup, I should say, and that couples, I say, the newborn studio. So they use that on a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday when I'm doing other things. And then we have on the other side of the building, because it's a barn, so this side, I'm pointing, you can't see what I'm pointing at, we've got a bedroom upstairs. So it's like a barn conversion, basically. So we've turned that into a bedroom. So it's like a boudoir type one, it's very sultry in that. And then downstairs, where I shoot families, there's also the black wall where I do all the very moody type boudoir stuff and things like that. So that couple's there. So very lucky because it was all in one studio, and I'm a very messy person, and I'd end up trying myself in knots with the bed falling over me because it's an air bed and being very clumsy. So now I don't have to fall over things and break my neck. I can actually spread myself out. So yeah, so it's working quite well.
So you mentioned that you never intended doing boudoir, and then the time became right for it, Sarah. What drove that? Like, where did that come from?
Developing my lighting, I think. I think that's where it came from, and having all the confidence to do it and to do it right. I found it a little bit to start with. Then when I started developing my lighting skills and bits and pieces, then I was drawn to it. And now, again, seeing those people and being able to create something for them now, and they absolutely love. You know, I've never had so many hugs and kisses from customers and flowers and bits and pieces like that, because they've paid me to do a job for them, which they absolutely love. And I just think it's just so lovely that you can do that for someone. It's fabulous. Yeah. And knowing their stories as well. We get a few trans in as well, and it's such hard for them. I admire these people that come in and do like these shoots and bits and pieces, and we can just tell their story. It's lovely.
And what are they typically looking for, Sarah? Are they looking like to rediscover their confidence, which you hear a lot from boudoir photographers, or are they already confident and want to celebrate that confidence? Or do you see, both of those client avatars coming through?
Yeah, well, both really. I think you get a mixture. I was surprised at the amount of husbands that buy their wives' vouchers. I thought it would always be the women that would want to do it, but I would have said that 60% the men buy their wives' vouchers to say, come on, you're still beautiful. I want you to, I've had a few people, the men have phoned us and said they want to do a surprise. So we order in the flowers and the champagne, and they make it a really big celebration for their wives. And then they come along for the viewing, and their wives are really overwhelmed and everything. But it's so lovely that they're actually doing this for their wives to say, you've had children, you're still beautiful. I've even had gentlemen came in, and his wife was 70, and he brought her a voucher. And I was a bit skeptical at the start with. I thought, she's not going to want to do this. So I said, well, we'll have a chat when you've given it to her. We had loads and loads of chats in the studio before we actually brought the voucher. Lots of consultations. And then he brought her in, and I said to her, if you don't want to do it, obviously you don't have to do it. And she went, no. Oh, he's bought me the voucher. I'm going to do it. And they had great big wall art on their bedroom wall, and it was fabulous. And you just think, 70 years old, and she was really lovely, and but they've become quite good friends now. They're always messaging me in bits and pieces. So yeah, it's nice. It's a different side to photography, I think, than the newborns and bits.
So that's really interesting, Sarah. So you've identified that a lot of men, right, want their wives to see how beautiful they are, like they see them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so you mentioned, does the partner come to the session as well, or just to see the images when?
I've only had 2 partners attend. One last month, he watched as well, and he was very he'd ordered the underwear in for her to wear, and they'd discussed it, and he said he wanted to be part of it. He wanted part of the experience. So he was, and and in the end, I persuaded him to join in on a few photographs at the end, and just sort of done some really, tasteful ones with him in it. And of course, then he's emotionally involved anyway. Then, so it becomes this, and they come back for this to the viewing. They want their story, sort of, they know what they want, and their wall art and their album bits and pieces, so they can say, this is us, this is what, after a couple of children, this is what we still look like. And they sort of celebrate that.
So do you do an instant viewing or design consultation, or do they come back at a separate time?
Yeah, so the process is they inquire. I have another lady working for me as well who does all my bookings and talks, and so she'll do all the talk to them, and just to make sure this is right for them. She'll book them in for consultation with me. So then they'll come in, and then we'll have a chat. I'll show them around, show them what's available, and find out about them, what they want, and whether we're the right sort of people for them, because you don't always gel with someone, do you? So because it's such a personal nature, boudoir, I want to have a chat with them first to make sure we're all right and they're happy with everything. And then once they're happy, I suggest they make me a mood board up, so I can see inside their head, because I know when I've done that, I used to do that with the weddings, because what one person thinks is a boudoir and what another person thinks is a boudoir is a completely different thing, and I can't see inside their heads. So I always say, just pop away, make yourself a mood board up, then come back if you want to, and we'll go through the mood board and what sort of things that you're going to need to buy and purchase for this sort of shoot that you want. And then once they're happy with that, then we book them in.
So for the mood board, Sarah, is that Pinterest they use, or is it something else? Or
some people use Pinterest. Some people just send me some images. I said, it doesn't have to be flash. I just need to see inside your mind. I need to see where you're coming from and your boundaries and what you want to do and all those sort of things, really. So, yeah, until you actually get to know them, you don't really know what their hobbies are. I've got 2 ladies coming in, and they've had their consultation, but even sort of having a chat with them first, we didn't get to the grips with actually why they wanted to do it. And they're both real sports fanatics. So they want to tie in the boudoir with something really gritty in a sports environment as well. So without having gone through all this process, I wouldn't have known that. So it's nice that then they're now feeling refreshed that, yes, I've got it, because I've seen the pictures and I've seen what they want to do, and I'm on the same wavelength that they are. So I do like that bit. I like to put a bit of psychology in there. I like
So Sarah, the design consultation that you do in person, right? Do the partners come to that as well, or?
Some have, some haven't. Yeah, it all depends, really. I leave it up to them whether they're more than welcome to have their partners there. Obviously, the bridal boudoir that we do, their partners aren't there because they are doing it literally as a surprise for their partners. So they obviously don't attend. But I've only had a couple of guys attending for the consultation. It's mainly the women that come along and do that.
Okay. But you encourage both partners to come to see the photos and choose products.
Yes, unless it's a surprise, I like the partners to come, and they all do. They all come along because it's part of their process. We want somebody to have something on the wall. Obviously, they're not going to buy something for the wall without their partner being there to see, whereabouts it could be. And I do encourage people, because we use Pro Select, Send My Rooms. I do encourage people to send me a picture as well of the room, so they can see what it looked like above their beds and things like that, which some people haven't got the vision of where it's going to go and what it's going to look like. And so if you give it all to them, and and we have a laugh, to be perfect, we have a bit of a giggle, so it's all good fun. Yeah, it's not taken seriously as such.
So Sarah, you know, when the partners are there, right? I'm fascinated by this in terms
Okay.
of the reaction that you see from both partners. Like, are they, if we take a relationship that's, let's say, a husband and wife, right? Just as
Yeah,
an
yeah.
example. So in a husband and wife scenario where the husband has encouraged his wife to do this, like what's typically his reaction when because he wasn't there for the experience, right?
No, no.
So what's his reaction, and then what's her reaction to his reaction?
Well, usually when they come in, obviously you've given them a drink and then you play through the slideshow and pro select. And I always say to them, well, look at it first on your own. I'm going to leave you be, because the wife's really, really nervous. She doesn't know what she's going to be looking at, and bits and pieces like that. And then I said, then we'll look at it again on a slideshow if you want to, and you can absolutely absorb it, because obviously half the time they're doing this and they don't want to look and everything. So then once they've got used to seeing their bodies up on the screen, they're more relaxed. Husbands usually very, very quiet. And in the end, and they always say, it's amazing, you look amazing, and like that. And as soon as they've said that, then she relaxes and takes a deep breath and goes, oh, you know, and then it's a bit like, well, and if she says, I said, well, we're now going to choose which ones that we'd like, you know, she'll sort of say yes. And if she says no, he'll say, oh, no, that one's staying in. And, you know, and then and if he doesn't say anything, she'll say, well, don't you like them? And he usually says, I like them all. It's very, very hard to choose which one. So that's when it's narrowing it down and bits and pieces like that. And perfectly honest, they don't take out many because it's like a baby shoot. It's their baby. It's his wife. You know, I know it sounds awful, by saying no, I don't like it, it's a bit like saying I don't like you and such. So you've got to be very careful. So yeah, I do edit them before they see them. I give them not a good edit, a light edit. I don't agree with making somebody look completely not them. Otherwise, somebody's going to look at it and go, well, yeah, been airbrushed, so it's not really you. And that's not the purpose of it. It's to make you look your best and well and healthy. And that's what I like. Yeah. But they love it, the husbands. Yeah. So
it sounds like you're sort of helping husbands and wives and partners reconnect with each other and celebrate each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I've had some do it for Valentine's maybe, and then they don't know they're coming into the studio to see their shoot, because that's their present, the actual coming in, having a drink, a cup of tea or something, and watching the images, and they're very shocked. It takes them a little while to like, oh, okay, didn't realise, it's really wonderful. And then, you know, and then it is a connection again, isn't it, really? Because a lot of the people that come in are people that got children either secondary or late primary, so they are getting back together now. The children are a bit older, bits and pieces like that, which is lovely.
And is that your typical client avatar for boudoirs then, you know, people who have older children, or the children have flown the nest? And
yeah, I would have said about the 40s.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's obviously, except for the bridal boudoir, it's 40s. Although you get obviously older brides.
Okay. So how do you market to the men then? How do you do that?
Well, Google Ads. That's what's brought it all in. I unfortunately got my Facebook advertising account stopped, so they deactivated me. And funny enough, they deactivated me on my family's, but I do have a Facebook boudoir site, which they're fine about. So because they deactivated me, I found different ways to advertise. And at the moment, we're doing Google Ads through a company that are doing it for me. So they've built me a landing page of it. And we get, I would have said, 5 or 6 inquiries a week. And they're very, very hot leads. And we can turn around at least 98% of them. I don't think we've had not many at all that have actually said no, because with the Google Ads, they've hunted down a boudoir photographer in this area. They've gone onto the landing page, they see what they like, and then it's gone from there. So that's where they've come from. We are going to try a Facebook campaign just to see whether it works again, but I think Google Ads are really good, and we'll try. So you've got to try different revenues. You can't leave all your eggs in one basket. So Google Ads is working at the moment. It might not in 6 months, so you've got to keep trying different things, haven't you? But yes. I must admit, we are getting a few boudoirs come through. So I haven't done one yet, but I think, judging by the lady's booking, she's nurturing a gentleman that wants to do this for his wife. So yeah, that will be interesting. Watch this space.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I love it. All right. So so your workflow, you've explained sort of from lead all the way through to they come and you do your slideshows, your music with Pro Select, and then you go through the images and they're choosing for the wall or their album or whatever else they're buying from you. But you also use quantum, right? But you use quantum differently than a lot of our clients do, right? So a lot of our clients, you know, they'll put a photo on one side and their logo on the other, but you've chosen to put your logo on one side and a quote on the other. So is that to do with workflow or speed, or what's driven that decision for you?
Both workflow and speed, to be perfectly honest, and it's cost effective. It's because obviously you're jumping from getting a USB stick multiplied, and they're sort of what, £6-7. You can get the real cheap ones and that, but unfortunately they break, and that's not good for your reputation to have broken USBs and bits. And computers are going to be stopping USB, so I took it on as soon as you brought them out, got the demo through, liked it a lot. So excuse me, but then it was costing us more money to do it. So of course we had to work out how we can use these, and it's still be cost effective for the studio to use them. Every project that we send out to the studio, apart from prints on their own, comes with a quantum. Okay, so the quantum's always talked about. It's in my brochures, everything. So it's mainly the talking point is, what's this quantum when they come in, and sort of describe it. But if you purchase, I found that if I purchased them in bulk, it's easier because we've obviously got lots of people got like a workflow that goes through the studio. If I had to sort of then sit and order individual ones with pictures on, because the amount that we're doing, it's easier for me to buy them in bulk. They've got my logo on the front, and on the back, I've just literally, the last box we've got through is a QR code and a strapline type thing. So I'm hoping with the QR code, that'll be good because you go straight into obviously the website. And then they're in their purse all the time. And if they forget the photographer that took their photographs, they've got my logo and everything on there. And it's a talking point for them to actually, as we know, get the quantum out, show it to family and friends, and you know, sort of their friends when they're out and about, and they can show it on their phone. So it's a lot cheaper to do that, we found, buying bulk.
So what's the reaction of the client, Sarah, when they see it first and when you tap their phone like that? Are they?
They're amazed. They can't quite work out, some of them, how it happens. So I have to explain, no, because they think you've got to download it literally download all the images into their phone, and they'll be like, oh, I don't want to do that. But now, once I've explained what happens, then they think it's marvelous. They think that's technology, and they're just like, oh, you know, they say, oh, it's like magic type of thing, and it's all on there. And yeah, you get lots of different reactions. I've only had one person that couldn't get to grips with it. And so I just emailed over the images for them in the end. But yeah, but obviously we've ordered a fair amount now, and happy customers, I would say. They just think it's wonderful, and they just think you're giving something different as well, aren't you, than than anybody else, your competitors, hopefully anyway. So yeah, no, it's good.
And you know, how do you approach the digitals? Is it what they buy in print to get a social media file, or do you sell digital separately, or how have you put all that together?
Well, we've got two different options. You can either buy wall art, and the images on your wall art, if it's a multi, they'll come as a digital download as well, which will go onto their quantum. if you can buy, or you can buy a quantum package. So we've got quantum 5, quantum 10, quantum 15, quantum 20. And if they want 30, I'll do quantum 30. So it's entirely up to them what they want to do. With the Watch Me Grow packages, of course, that's handy because they buy then a package and they can split it if they want to. And then you can just add them onto the quantum each time. They haven't got to have a new quantum each time, which some people think that they have to have a new one. But so no, to keep it all on the same one. And then they've got all their images there. And it's so easy to upload them here rather than having to say, well, bring your USB stick back and then I'll add them on for you. You haven't got to do any of that. It's straight on there. And of course, if they want one black and white, you can just change it and you can pop it back on the quantum. No, they don't have to keep coming into the studio. So
the Watch Me Grow, is that newborn sitter, sit up, crawl, stand? Is that what you
okay. So they'll do that. I don't usually, so with the Watch Me Grow ones, my maternity and newborn packages are not linked to the whole Watch Me Grow, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because I want them to spend more each time they come in. So it's the ones that haven't had the newborn and maternity. So it'll be ones that come in sort of 16 weeks and then your 8 months and then you stand there 1 year, because they can then buy a package. I try and keep the maternity and the newborn together because obviously it's more cost effective to do it for us like that. They can spend more. Otherwise, it's all about.
Very good. Well, before we go forward, Sarah, guys, if you've any questions for Sarah, any questions at all, just put it in the chat and we'll make sure we ask your questions, right?
Okay.
So Sarah, a lot of photographers get concerned, right, when they're doing, say, multiple genres, especially if boudoir is involved. So if they're doing family and pet, and has that been an issue for you, or has that not been an issue at all?
What you mean, joining the boudoir with the families?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I thought first of all it would be. So I developed in the last lockdown a boudoir site specifically. I thought I'd take it off. I just had a link from my normal page, shall we say, into my boudoir photography page. But I was talking to some different people and they just said, join it together. And I found actually it's just easy to join it together. It also allows people to see, didn't think that you do these things, to see that actually you do everything. And so they can have a little look if they want. It's not blasted in their face when they first come on, but yeah, I don't think it is anyway. I'm not too sure what I've done on that website lately. So yeah, I've joined them back together. It's still running the boudoir one, but I have joined it back together. And because obviously with Facebook, I've got a separate Facebook site, because obviously my one has been deactivated. So now I have.
Well, you can get going again with the second one, right? Because with a different page.
And it's building it up. Yeah, building up the people on it. So it's a work in progress, as this.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So people are asking. One person has just asked, how does quantum exactly work? So quantum is designed. You can use it like Sarah does, where she's on one side and she's got her logo on the other. And when you tap your client's phone with it, it opens up all the images that your client has bought from you and invested with you. They can share them on social media really easy. They can, there's a photographer's mini website within there too for referrals. So it drives referrals both in person and online. And you can sell them either just social media files or high resolution files or both, depending on your business model and how you want to do it. And there's two options to do it. So Sarah has chosen, rather than put an individual client's photo on the card like this one, she's chosen to have generic cards. So she has the same cards for every client that is uniquely linked to a client. But it means then that she has them there in the drawer ready to go, like she would USBs, but they're a much bigger wow factor than USBs. And it's quicker because she doesn't have to wait for the cards to be produced with an individual client's photograph on it. But if you are interested in getting yourself a sample for a quantum, all you have to do is to make contact with our client happiness team. and they will send you a coupon if you haven't already had one to get one, like Sarah did, and see what it's like and see what fits your business best. All right, Jack has a really long question. I have to put on my eyes for this one, Sarah. So Jack, he says, Sarah, I'm a fellow Brit here, currently in Toronto. Just wanted to say congratulations on everything. I can see why your clients love you and how you would make them feel so at ease. I love it that you can help trans women feel beautiful too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I do a project about queer and trans people, and just like you said, their stories are really, really powerful. We often both end up in tears, mostly happy tears. I found your talk very interesting and helpful. I just want to say thank you for making women feel amazing. One question for you. Do people have to keep the quantum card once the images are on their phone? What is the incentive for the client to keep the card and show other people? Will I answer that, Sarah, or do you want to answer it?
Yeah, you can answer that if you want to.
Okay. So the first thing is, once the images are on their phone, why would they keep the card? And there's two answers to that. One is some people will want to share with family and friends. So if you've got a card like Sarah does without a photo, then they'll keep it in their wallet. And any friends they want to share with, they tap their phone and they have the images there to have a look at. Obviously, if there's a photo on it, I'm old enough to remember the wallet prints. So we used to, clients buy wallet prints to keep one in their wallet. So the idea of having a photo on it is that it not only lives on the phone, but it also lives in the wallet. And the print is just another incentive to keep it in the wallet. But Sarah's clients keep it in their wallet too without a print. But that's the sort of reasoning or the logic or the strategy behind it. Obviously, if you're buying a folio box in 3XM, right, you can now upload the images once for the folio box, and we print the prints that we print for you. You can just automatically add to your quantum cloud. So in that case, it certainly makes sense to have a photo on it. There'd be no reason why you wouldn't do that. All righty. So Jack is an amazing photographer, Sarah.
Thank
Toronto.
you, Jack. That's really kind.
He's a really genuine, lovely person. So
Sounds it.
And he has a big heart too. He does a lot of work with the LGBT community. Yeah. So, excellent. All right. So, Sarah, we've no more questions in the chat. So I'm gonna have to ask you another question. So, okay. I'm second generation, right, in our business, right? And you have two daughters now in your business. Talk to us a little bit for those of us who may be planning to bring family into our business. What's that like? What was that like for you as the first generation?
Yeah.
And what were those conversations like?
Well, it started with, my eldest daughter, she is a makeup artist, a hair and makeup artist. So she came into the business quite a while ago, in fact, good 10, 11 years ago, to do hair and makeup when we were doing the boudoir and the hair makeups before. So she came into it that way. That was fine. And so she sort of just came along, really. I can do hair and makeup, so that's it. So she just joined along on a freelance basis. And then when my youngest daughter left school, she wanted to do a media course. So, but she's very, very shy. So as my husband does video as well, I said, well, come down to the studio. I'll teach the photography side. So she came in as an apprentice. And she stayed with me since, and she's developed, which is really good. In fact, my granddaughter's just starting down here now. She's 16, so she's just starting her training. In fact, she's got a little bit more to say about everything than my daughter's ever had, I will say, from down here. But yes, I like employing family members. I think it has its advantages and its disadvantages. Melissa would say to me, oh, the children are really sick, I can't come in today. And I'd say, well, I've got a makeover and I need you to come in. So we'd have to all rally round and look after children and goodness knows what else. But you probably wouldn't get that quite so much if you actually employed an outsider. But it's got its advantages, as in the sense that they will work flexi, we work flexi. So we all just work together, really. And and I haven't got a fear of them running off and joining somebody else, and I've got to retrain that person. So yeah, so I like it. It's good fun.
So your granddaughter then, will she come into the business too, or what are the
I
plans?
think at the moment she just wants to earn some money. So in fact, she's been coming down here since the year dot, since she was born. And she used to come in when she was about 5 or 6 and say, Grandma, can I earn some money? So I say, well, if you pick us at the times when all the balls and everything that used to get out for the studio, I said, you pick up all the balls and I'll give you 50p. So she used to pick up all the balls and put them in the bag. And she used to say to me, I'm going to take over your business one day, Grandma. And I said, that's okay, you can do that. But at the moment, I think she's earning money. That's her main goal. She wants to earn some pocket money, but you never know, they change, don't they? So I might get her interested in it a little bit more. So we'll see how that goes anyway.
Very good,
Yeah.
very good. Exciting times. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Really
My
exciting.
son actually helped build the back of the studio. He done that side of it because he's into projects and development and things like that. So him and hubby built the outside studio for me last summer. So hands-on.
Very good. So all the family are involved and dig in to help out. That's the advantage of a family business, right?
Yes. You all help each other out, don't you?
Yes. It's not to say it doesn't happen with non-family businesses, but it's there's, well, it's sort of, I know, like my wife works in our business, she's our accountant, and if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, Sarah, and I go home and she's not talking to me, I don't want that to happen. I'm only joking.
I know the feeling. Tony's always saying to me, where's your bills? Where's all the bills? Because he does all the books and does all the bits and like that. And I say, oh, I'll get them. I've got really bad memory. So I gave him a bill last week. In fact, I'm not hearing the last of it because he said, I asked for this bill last year. Because I said to him, so where's your bills from the hotel from last week? I gave it to you. And he said, that was last year's bill. He said, you've given me, not this year's bill. So yeah, so he's on my back for bills at the moment. So at least he keeps you on your toes, doesn't he?
Absolutely. So we have another question from an anonymous attendee, which is a very unusual name, anonymous attendee. I'm only joking.
Okay.
So the question is to turn around on the cards. So for Sarah, she doesn't have to worry about the turnaround because she orders them in bulk and has them there ready to go. For our clients who ordered a card with a folio box, our turnaround for the folio box with fully loaded with your prints and all is 12 working days. So the card will accompany the folio box. If you order the card on its own individually with a photo, it's 12 working days as well. So hopefully that answers your question. All righty, and Lisa asked the question. All right, okay, Lisa. I photograph families and high school seniors. Is there a way for clients to get quantum cards to share their images with family who live far away? Is there a way to download images through a site as well as the actual card? Yes, Lisa, there is. The card that your client can share what the card does. So when you tap the card to the phone, it loads up the picture with all the images there they can do, and they can share that as well. So when they click the share button, they can share that using any messenger app that they use. So if it's WhatsApp or Messenger, I don't want to share it on Instagram or Instagram Messenger or Facebook, that all happens automatically. All righty. So loads of questions about quantum. And I know that was what this webinar is primarily about.
Exactly,
I'm more interested in your story, Sarah. So I'm sure people have more questions about you. So if you do have a question, guys, ask it in the chat if you want to ask Sarah about her business or anything else about her business or her workflows or how she uses quantum even.
You can do video on the quantum as well, though, can't you?
Yes, you can. So
you upload videos as well, because that's the next thing I'm thinking of doing.
Yes, so you can embed a slideshow. So we don't host the actual video, but if you host a video on YouTube or Vimeo, you can embed a link and it plays within the platform. So in the same way as Instagram or Facebook want you to stay within their platform when you're on it, the idea here is that when you're watching a video, you're seeing it with everything else. So you're seeing it with all the photographer's details, you're seeing it with all the photos, and it's all in one location in the same way as it would if you're on a social media platform. So that's pretty cool. So Sarah, tell us now, if we go forward in time, right?
Yeah.
Let's say we go forward in time 7 years, right?
Yeah.
Where will the business be? Where would you like it to be?
I would like it to have I'm staying here, so I don't intend to move the studio, but I'd like the girls to obviously build up the newborn, so I don't have to do newborns anymore, and I want to just concentrate on the boudoir. So I want 2 solid working days with boudoir and makeovers with it, and then maybe even 3 if I can really do that. I'm thinking 2 or 3 days just solidly with boudoirs and just have it as dedicated boudoir studio.
And you will primarily,
sorry.
so will you primarily operate the boudoir side of the business, or are you running the whole business while doing that? Or
no, I will. Well, at the moment it's working quite nicely. I've got somebody that does all my projections for me, 5 members, you know, and then I've got somebody that does all the phones for me now. So the phones are switched over to them. They do all the bookings, all the phones, all the inquiries. I just shoot, put the orders together because Libby does the editing. So that's for that. And I'd like to keep it like that. So I'd like a few more days off, but then just concentrate on my boudoirs at the end of the week. So, because I don't work Sundays unless I have to. Nearer Christmas I do, because obviously you've got all the families in. But I don't want to do Sundays because that's family day. So I like to spend it with the family. So. And at the moment, I have 1 day off a week. If I can get it, I want to make sure I do have that day off, perhaps even another 1.5 weeks a day. So I'm hoping concentrating the boudoir down to just specific days, that will be really good revenue coming in there. And I can have a bit more quality time with my parents because they're getting older and they do live next door to me. So it'll be nice to spend a bit more time with them. Yeah, enjoy life as it is.
Sarah, you're an amazing inspiration to everyone. Seriously, to be in business 21 years, that is some accomplishment. Some accomplishment. And to build a business where you've got a 2nd generation working in the business, that you've a business that runs alongside your husband's business, and like Susan and I, you're still talking as well.
Yes.
and to have a 3rd generation with an interest of saying to you that I'm going to take over your business, Granny, that shows an amazing togetherness, a culture of using the art and science photography to truly make a difference to people every single day. And that's obvious in what you've told us. So thank you, Sarah, so much for everything you do.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, lovely.
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your story. It's an amazing story.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for being a friend and a client of 3XL.
Yes. Lovely. All right, take care of yourselves, and thank you again for having me on.
Bye everybody. We'll see you again soon. Bye, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Ronan.